All right, welcome to the One Up Yours podcast for Friday, April 25th. I'm Garnet Lee. On the show today, I've got a big group. I've got Simon, what is your official vice presidency title?
Vice President of Paperclips.
Excellent. That's Simon Cox. Next to him, we have both of the editors-in-chiefs for their various sides. We've got the console side with James Milkey, the PC side with Jeff Green. We've got the associate reviews editor, Nick Sutner, here.
Seemingly out of place.
Well, I don't know. How out of place?
You're important. I'm just not on ESE of anything.
It's your beard that makes you out of place.
True.
There you go. Yeah. Well,
we're all out of place.
We're beardless.
We're beardless.
Can I just say, not that I like to suck up in public, but Simon, ever since he took over the paper clip supply, has just been fantastic.
Could you get on the tape now?
Yeah.
Yeah, could you get on the tape?
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Oh, we've had all great colors. Back in John Davison's day, it was all the silver kind. Simon we get like the yellow ones.
That's true. I have more variety in paper clips, bigger ones too, for like clipping huge wads of paper together.
That's how you compensate.
Excellent job,
I got it.
Yeah, I've really headed up a number of new initiatives. Thank you.
All right, let's get this thing back on track. And your cohort and whiskers over there running the machines. That's Andrew Pfister taking care of the engineering. Coming up on today's show, we're going to do our normal thing. We've got the What You've Been Playing segment here in the beginning, in which everyone will be talking about the games they've been playing, except for Simon, who doesn't play games. In the second segment, we're going to be talking about.
You're right now, actually.
We're going to be talking about where online gaming is for consoles, particularly, and Jeff's going to be able to just skewer the crap out of it because, of course, online gaming actually matters on PC.
Yeah.
And then in the news, boy, I've got a ton of news I want to get to, including just all kinds of stuff. Uwe being a highlight for me. I love it when Klepek finds that stuff, and actually it's from the MTV movie news stuff, but they brought it over the blog over there. So anyway, let's get this thing rolling. Who wants to start with what they've been playing?
I could.
Yeah.
I'll just get it out of the way, shall I? Rather quickly.
Well, this won't take long.
No, you're right. I've not been playing much, actually. I've not.
Yeah, you lost your passion for games.
No,
I can tell. That's what happens.
You know what? We've been through a lot recently. We had that whole Ziff filing for bankruptcy thing. We closed the magazine. We had Shu leaving. It's been a bit of a hellish ride.
So I need to play like Katamari
But you would think
or
that
something.
it would drive you to games.
It would drive me
escape.
to shoot aliens in the head, which I love doing in video games and in real life.
The warm embrace, the escape of a loving first-person shooter.
Exactly. Well, I did play a little bit of Call of Duty again because that's always good for a quick blast as well. But I also, in a fit of boredom the other night, paid for and downloaded Grip Shift.
Yes.
Oh.
Sweet. Hope you like it.
What, did you make it?
So you know how earlier
No, I'm just a huge fan of it.
You know how earlier you said you felt out of place? So you are.
You love it so
rubbish.
much,
No.
marry it.
No, you know what? I only played. I give these things. If I don't pay very much for a game, I give it like 10 minutes.
There's demos.
Maybe.
There's a free demo.
Maybe.
That's what the free demo's for.
You know what? No, I read I believed you. I downloaded it. I believed you, and
bastard.
I downloaded it and I played it. And I think it's there's a lot of creativity in the tracks. There are. There's some really great creativity there, and obviously it could be really good if someone with some patience for playing it, instead of me, who was bored and annoyed and had no patience. So I played about five tracks, and was like, this is floaty and annoying, and the controls are killing me, and I don't like the PlayStation controller.
But she's got a great personality.
PS3, interesting. Okay, I just was assuming 361.
No, PS3. It's a bit too floaty, a bit too. You know how the analog stick on the PS3 is not quite.
Yeah, I haven't played it on PS3, so I can't quite vouch for that.
It's a little bit wobbly
but that
sometimes.
floatiness is kind of what makes the game, because it allows you to do these crazy.
But you're not gripping much. You're floating. It should be float shift.
Float
shift.
But so it allows you to do these crazy kind of Mario physics, like reverse your direction in midair and fall and then accelerate midair to it just allows you to.
So I need you to show me how to play Grip Shift, and then I might enjoy it.
Yeah, the Grip Shift coach.
Nick found the hidden magic.
What I need.
He found the hidden magic.
Yeah.
It happens.
Can I just say as well that Garnet is wearing a T-shirt with two birds snuggling on a perch.
It's heartwarming.
Yeah,
I know you guys can't see. Obviously, this is radio.
But
I'm just describing it.
Japanese. It's got kanji on it, and
what does it say?
Kana, so it's
a filthy story about birds.
I just like it. I think it's nice.
Can you read it, Milky?
Got to be some.
I can read some of it. I don't know what that kanji says though. So
it's got to be some sort of proverb, right?
I guess it's about birds.
Or maybe they're very happy birds.
Yeah, all right.
They're in love with each other. They're love birds on a little perch.
Look at this dumb American wearing this ugly ass T-shirt.
Oh man!
You know what? I think those birds are talking about you, mate. That's why they're sort of
It's obviously Gaijin
because
it's obviously Gaijin because actually Christian Nutt saw this and he told me that he was looking at it, he's like, well, there's a misspell, like, a mispronounced, the kanji's wrong, it doesn't go together right. It's like doesn't pronounce correctly. I was
knew.
like,
Your mistake was sitting down with your mistake was sitting down with 5 fashionistas this morning wearing that shirt.
shit, it came from Simon's favorite Nordstrom's. I figured it'd be all right.
Oh,
zing.
he's label dropping now.
Oh, shit.
Jeez.
Oh.
Damn, all right.
Rough room this
How about
morning.
someone who plays some games? Nick, you got
You know what? I deserve that.
the least of it. Anyway, you got skewered, Nick. What have you been playing?
I have several games. Hail to the Chimp, I've been playing some.
Okay, so tell me what the hell that game is, because I watched Matt playing it, and I couldn't understand.
Matt Leone.
It looked like, I watched Matt Leone playing it. It looked like Fusion Frenzy with weird apes and stuff.
A little bit, only without like a horribly annoying host and kind of charming art design instead of horrid art design. But yeah, it's a fighting game, arena fighting game that's also kind of like all variants on mini games of collecting these clams, which are like votes in the Hell of the Chimp world.
Sounds
it's got
like
this
a
whole
worthwhile pursuit.
It's got this whole like political theme. It's a little weird because it's not any sort of like current. It's not parodying any current administration or anything. It's just kind of everything's like political, and it works. It's a lot of the writing is really like legitimately funny. They have all these like fake commercials for like animal products that you unlock, and they're like really well written and they're funny, which is always rare.
So is it
in games,
everything that Matt Leone has been claiming it is?
It's kind of too much of the same thing throughout because it's all just it's like literally in arenas fighting every single like round with different slide variants on collecting these clams. It's interesting. It just kind of doesn't really have an audience.
Is it
that
grip
I can
shifts
see.
equal?
It is not. Nothing.
Oh.
Very little is.
Wait, so are you playing as a chimp?
No, there's actually no chimps in the game. There's a monkey.
There's no
but
chimp.
I know.
There's a monkey.
Yeah.
Not a chimp.
Yeah.
Well, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
could
all right, whatever.
Way to
Could you
get
say that again?
technical.
Fucking
Yeah.
hell.
Because I just like the
Okay.
way he says that.
Hey, Mr. Zoologist.
Yeah.
I thought
There's
they
a-
were the
there's a
same. So
monkey.
wait, so you play
There's a
as a
monkey.
monkey?
You play as different animals throughout different like stages. Like you play as like a octopus and a.
So
Do you-
What
do you
else?
think
Like
it would be-
armadillo, and they all have their own little like campaign theme, and you see their fake commercials, and you see their commercials about them like ripping the opposition.
Do you
and,
think that it would be more successful or more appealing to a wide stream audience if it had Space Marines?
hail to the bald face marine?
Yeah.
I think it should be on live arcade. It would be really successful there, but as a retail game, it's a little.
Yeah. Sounds rubbish.
That's just a tough IP.
It's charming, but it's kind of like it's a little.
It's a
wide.
tough IP
right.
to go
Yeah.
live with.
Well, what else have you been playing then? If you want other stuff in there.
I've been playing some board games. Can we talk board games?
Please don't.
No.
Well,
How about that?
well, I will say, because it's been announced, so I'll just say I played it, because I probably shouldn't talk about it, is Ticket to Ride on PartnerNet on Live Arcade, which
Nice.
is fantastic. Yeah, I haven't actually played the board game version, but
the thing.
Ticket to Ride.
it's like a big
What the hell's that?
trains across the map of the
Days
US.
of Wonder is the board game company that put it out, and there was actually a PC version that's been around.
It's like one of the award-winning German board
over a year.
games.
Absolutely fantastic board game.
Yeah, and it translates to live really well.
What is it about railroad games and board games in general that mix them together? When I was in college, we used to play the hell of this game called Rail Baron. Have you ever heard of that one?
Mm-hmm.
And we would just,
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable the amount of addiction we had to like sitting around drinking Jack and playing Rail Baron for some
Well,
reason.
the thing to know is that this isn't like a train game, really. I mean,
Oh.
it's more abstract. It's almost more, I don't know. You're stringing together. Look at Milky over here. Oh, sorry, we're not hip enough. Talking about, but no, this game. This game is great, and what's great about it is that it's sort of got like a risk element of being totally accessible. I played this game with my daughter way back when she was under 10, but it scales way up in terms of strategy. So this is just a classic board game for any age.
My little brother, who was 17, was over this last weekend, and instead of like going and seeing the sights while he was in town, we spent most of the weekend playing Ticket to Ride.
Okay, that's sad. You just veto end of that discussion. Anything else?
Anyway, that's good. Yes, Boom Blocks.
Oh, okay, Boom Blocks. Now that we can
Boom
talk
Blocks. I
about
was
because that's
saving that.
awesome.
Yes, it's fantastic. It's
a blast,
it's
isn't it?
really,
It is
really,
so
really,
much a
really
blast.
good. It is. It's
This is
by
the
far the
Spielberg?
best.
Yes.
My old buddy Joe Fielder's working on that game.
Nice.
Cool.
By far the best use of the Wii that I've played, just bar none.
I'm telling you, it is so good that it has actually really spurred me to go looking for Wii's.
It's the best casual game I've played, and I think it's casual in that it's even though it does get really tough, the goals are always very clear and straightforward and accessible, and it's
Do you think Spielberg has a future?
From what at GDC, or the actual panel that I saw about the development of Boomblocks does seem like he added quite a bit to it. Like all the little characters you see, like adding all the kind of color to it, he added as opposed to just kind of a bland like block game. And it seemed like he was actually kind of got a lot of like.
And the initial impetus for the idea, like just wanting to destroy the destruction thing, was his as well, right? And then he kind of maybe step back a bit and let them get on with it.
Basically, and it sounds like the entire development was very like un-EA. Like usually EA has this like kind of design document they follow to hit different milestones, and this was kind of, they didn't even have any paper. They had like a room, like a whiteboard room, and they were like, let's write down 1,000,000 ideas. And eventually they ended up fitting it into eventually they had to kind of conform to the process, but I think starting out that way really allowed them to like immediately throw out what doesn't work, and everything in it works. There's so many different like variants on the basic thing. I mean, some of it you're like pulling out blocks like Jenga, and even that when you're doing it, it's like, it uses Havoc physics, so it's like, you know, the physics are great, but it's also, you feel a little vibration in the controller while you're doing it, and it's just very like tactile.
It's really
it works
tactile.
really well, and that's just like a little part of the game, is the like the Jenga type levels. There's ones where you're like throwing bombs at blocks to blow them up in the right order, but not like knockoff point blocks, but not anti-point blocks. There's ones where it's just kind of a shooting gallery of things popping up.
See, this is what addressed my concern about it is there is enough different types and variants
of
things to
types,
do.
Yeah, I'll keep getting to something that I'm like, what is this?
Why have the blocks got faces then? Because I was looking at it and that annoyed me.
They don't all have faces.
No, some of them did.
Why shouldn't they have faces?
I don't know.
Why do you hate
shouldn't
games?
blocks have faces?
In a lot of the levels, it's just kind of
I just hate games with blocks with faces. No, I don't. I'm just curious why they have faces. Is there some?
In a lot of the levels, it's kind of like there's just the block set up, and then surrounding are kind of these little animals watching in the background, just to like kind of add some color to it. But there's also levels where different animal types do different things. Like I think it's the sheep will always. Or maybe it's the monkeys. The monkeys will always like throw blocks at other animals.
It's like
that
an
are
AM radio move.
Sorry, the sheep. I'm sorry. He totally threw me off there with his.
Sorry.
You know.
So the monkeys will always like throw rocks or whatever at like other creatures that come by.
What is going on here?
Whereas the gorilla will always like march forward and try to knock things down or something like that. So they each have their different abilities.
So the characters do have different abilities, and
the cool thing is you can make your own levels and share them online with your friends in this game. And the making your own levels allows you to do some crazy like Rube Goldberg stuff with the different animals that do things, where you just set something off and watch this entire level like unfold.
See, James, I don't hate games with faces. I'm just deeply suspicious of faces.
All right,
that's all. Right. And now I know what they are.
Fine. Grip shift.
You know what? I'm comforted now. Now
Simon,
I know.
Simon
now
doesn't
I know
hate face games. News at 11.
Thank you.
I'm just hoping now that Spielberg's like dipped his feet into these waters, that we can now finally get that Schindler's List game that I've been dreaming about.
Why do you have
on Wii?
Because I think it would make a great Wii party game.
Why does it always come back to Judaism?
Who made the list?
With you, Jeff.
I'm Jewish too.
Why?
I'm Jewish too, Jeff.
What else do I have?
I don't know.
Can't you guys have more clear, obviously Jewish names like Green? Can you be Mr. Greenberg?
It's kind of like, do you guys watch America's Next Top Model like I do?
No.
What?
No.
Stunned silence falls over the room.
Crickets.
Well, they're all anorexic models on there, right, all the time. But every year they have sort of like the one that's heavier, so she actually weighs like 100 pounds instead of 80.
Right.
You know, and she's called
disgusting.
And she's called a plus-size model.
What a blob.
So the one on, this pig of 100 pounds, who they call a plus-size model.
Porker.
Every time she talks, she can't ever say anything without saying first, well, as a plus-size model, I blah, blah, blah. So it really just kind of gets annoying. It's the same thing about me and the Judaism, James.
Actually, that was more of a Darren
That's
thing.
the analogy I'm trying to get
That was
to.
more of a Darren thing. He always called it out.
He did?
Yeah, like anything he did, he was always just like, yeah, that it's the Jew in me. And I'm like, oh, really? That's not where I was going with this, Darren.
So,
I was just thinking you were an idiot.
Yeah.
So what hot games have you been talking about in the synagogue?
One more thing.
He's not done it. Yeah.
One more thing I
As
will
a
say
Jew.
about this. In this next week, if you're going to spend money on your Wii for $50, instead of buying Mario Kart, go buy Double Dash and Boomblocks.
That's a good
That's
call.
not
Okay.
That's a
Agree.
good
So
call.
Boomblocks is out.
This
coming week.
It's weird that it's out so close to Mario Kart, because they really need to like push it, because should be like a marquee Wii title.
Oh, I think it'll pick up steam. I think it'll pick up steam as well, because as people play it, I think they'll find it's a lot of fun, and it does definitely have an instant casual appeal.
I got to say that I read the EGM reviews of Mario Kart, and I'm kind of turned off to it now.
Yeah,
Did you-
that's one of the things that I've been playing just because I had to.
Did you watch the video review with Shane
I
and
didn't
Jeremy?
watch your show.
There's already been a lot of
Brilliant.
lot of animated gifs made out of that. The two rolling their eyes at each other. Shane doing his head rolling thing. Jeremy doing his eye rolling thing too.
Yeah, they disagreed quite violently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they're like poking fun at each other. Like they keep making these little looks like no one's noticing me. I'm just gonna like whatever and give you the look.
Well, no one knows what they gave it. The scores are out, or Shane's score is out, but the other scores aren't out.
Oh, they're not.
They didn't like it as much.
Can I say what they
It's
gave?
shipping like now. It should be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, his score is up. I don't think people are gonna not buy EGM just to find out our scores. But Jeremy gave it a C, and I gave it a C plus.
And Shane gave it a
B plus.
Yeah.
All right. So since you've been playing it, follow through, weigh in on it.
Mario Kart is fucking boring. Like the Mario Kart DS was excellent.
Yeah, agreed.
Still is excellent.
Totally agree.
Double Dash was, there were some power-ups added to that fans of the series really didn't like, but I still think that was a much better game. This is, I just am really tired of the whole Nintendo, formula of like, let's release a new console. And this one's like barely improved at all over the GameCube, except that it adds like the motion control stuff. And, here's another Mario Kart that's basically visually the same as the last one, except that it supports like true widescreen mode. And it's another Nintendo console, another Mario Kart. Why am I playing this game again?
But you gave Smash Brothers an A. So what's the difference there?
I think maybe because maybe there's a little bit more space between it, and it's total fan service, and it's all these characters, and maybe I just enjoy the fighting game genre more. But Mario Kart, it's like, okay, I'm driving around another themed amusement park style track. I'm shooting bananas at people everywhere. I'm leaving.
Yeah, but wait a minute, that's not the problem though, is it? With the latest Mario Kart, because you said that the DS version you were fine playing that, and I think there's something about this one that's qualitatively different.
Something about the expectations you have. Like, I didn't expect the DS one to be as good as it was. I didn't expect it to use 3D and
have great online play.
and like and playing wirelessly against friends, it's super good. It looks like a high quality PS1 title,
right,
for example, on the DS. But on the Wii, it doesn't stand out as much as it should. I mean, it's solid. It does all the things that Mario Kart does, but I've done them before, and I've done them before better. I hadn't done them before.
But I think most people, I mean, maybe Shane sees it this way, but most people would say that if it was as good as the one they played on, GameCube before, that would be all right. But the fact is, it's not actually. Something's happened to it. They've made it more mainstream. They made it more accessible, and by
they did
doing
actually
so,
they did actually remove,
sort of ruined it a bit.
Yeah, they did actually remove some features. There are some things that the Wii version doesn't have that the GameCube one did have. I mean, they did add things, obviously, online play and all that, but the online play is not great. There's a lot of... Nintendo has a long way to go before they realize, the kind of things that people need, like voice chat. They have DS games with voice chat. Why doesn't the Wii version have voice chat?
It also sounds
just lobby systems, all that kind of functionality. That it's just like the online is there, but it's not fantastic,
But do you feel like with the Wii, what Nintendo is saying is this kind of year zero? Like what they're assuming with their audience now is they don't have a GameCube and they haven't played these games before.
Yeah, that's what I was.
But this is going to be the only Mario Kart we get this generation. We're not going to get another Wii Mario Kart. I mean,
they don't care about you. They don't care about you. They care about your grandfather.
Yeah, but even
no, they don't.
I'm just saying this was their shot. This isn't their.
That's true, but it's their shot for what audience?
But
though?
this is true. It doesn't matter. Like you can't judge Mario Kart Wii based on like, okay, let's pretend we're all brand new gamers and this is the first time we've seen it, because it's not. This has been going on since 1993 and very little has changed. No,
but your point is that it's the same game again in another generation. It's basically the same thing again. But look, you're tired of it. But from Nintendo's perspective, maybe what they're seeing is, what we are sort of saying it's year zero here. We are saying that these are new consumers. They haven't played GameCube before, so that whole argument for them isn't going to be valid, right? So they're going to have to judge this game on other criteria.
Who's
what are those going to be?
You asked what the ding was that was different about this?
Yeah.
We is a platform that is inherently about its control system, right? And in Mario Kart, that's really played up because it ships with the wheel and you drop the Wii control into it. Did you see what Milk did when he talked about playing the DS version? He tapped his thumb because Mario Kart is inherently a game that plays particularly well with digital control. It's always been about that. It's like
I
you go
thought
to
he
the
just had the
corners.
shakes because he hadn't
No,
had a drink this morning.
I mean, think about it. You've always played it like that. It's a digitally steered
Well, I think
kart racer.
Did they translate it to the wheel well?
Actually, you don't even need the wheel. If you just want to play analog style, motion control style, you can just hold the Wii controller from both ends like a wheel, and the controls are actually pretty good. They're still not as good or responsive or as tight as using the analog stick, but it's a lot better than like Excite Truck was, for example. And I don't really care what Nintendo thinks. I mean, they're releasing the same game.
But
you get what I was saying, though?
I talked to Jeremy about this, though, and to Simon's point, Jeremy said one of the problems with this, too, is that now it's gotten a lot more chaotic because they've made it more accessible.
Right.
And because now it's like you can rocket from last place to like first place much more easily. Yeah, it sounds like that's a problem, but it's like...
There are a lot of balance things, but even with the balance things, even with the last minute, electric shock that puts everybody into a tailspin and lets you go from, last place to first. I mean, that adds kind of attention, but it's not a fair attention. But beyond just the broken balance elements, I've got serious franchise fatigue. They come out with a new Mario Kart. It's such a shtick by now. They created the kart racing genre with Mario Kart, and everybody else tried to copy them, right? And nobody did it as good as Nintendo. But now Nintendo's not doing it as good as Nintendo, and it's just another. You can predict it, like, oh, here comes Star Fox for Wii, oh, here comes Kirby for Wii, oh, here comes whatever. But they're not as good. I think Smash Brothers was actually really good. Maybe it wasn't the big step that it should have been.
So
going forward.
what's Shane's point then? So Shane's giving it a B+.
I gave him a hard time in his review because he spent he was the big review on EGM, and he spent the majority of the time explaining why it wasn't as good as past ones, and yet still gave it a B+. Because
I think it's still inherently a fun game. It's
a fun game if you've never played it before. But if you have experienced this, and the reason why you're buying this is because you love Mario Kart, you're not going to feel really fulfilled. It's like I've even seen the feedback. From the community, they're like, people who say, I've loved Mario Kart in its entire run, but I could not give a shit about this one now. I think Nintendo's going to have to wake up and address that.
That's really telling. All right, what else have you been playing?
I've been playing Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2.
Nice.
Because I'm on the review for that one, but I haven't really gotten deep enough into it to really discern what the differences are between this one and the previous one. I've seen some light, superficial things, but nothing I can really give a judgment call on yet. I'm going to be playing through this one over the weekend.
New storyline?
Yeah, it's a new storyline. The thing that bothers me a little bit, though, is that people who have been playing since the original Final Fantasy Tactics and then Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on GBA, the first game was really deep and it was very serious. The second game dealt with like the psychosis, the inner psychosis of a teenager's mind, and then this one, it starts you off where the main character is kind of like a troublemaker, and on the last day of school, he's banished by his teacher to the library, not to go home and have fun for the summer vacation, but to go clean up the library, because it's messy. Books are lying out all over the place. So he's got to clean up the library. But he stumbles upon a magic book, and it's half blank, so he starts writing in it, and all of a sudden he gets transported to this magic world. And I don't know about this whole teenage angst thing, but I kind of wanted more of a real gripping, deep, Evilise storyline like, Final Fantasy 12 had or something like that. I'm not, the audience for this kind of...
Not never-ending story.
The audience with the patience for this kind of game is not being represented as well as they should be. I think RTS... No, not RTS. Strategy RPG fans want something a little bit more mature. I don't know. Maybe it gets really deep. Maybe it scales up. But like I said, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Buy into the fantasy. Don't give me an explanation for why this kid's in the library and making it into something else. Just buy into the fantasy world.
That's
cool.
So are you disappointed that the game isn't like immediately different after 10 years and playing like hundreds of hours of the first one?
I was hoping that the tone would be a little bit more dramatic and a little less whimsical. you know.
But as far as like gameplay, like the fact that there aren't immediate differences that jump out besides that server stuff you mentioned. Like,
Yeah, the game is not, you know, that much different from what I can tell so far. You know, as I level up the weapons and as I start switching jobs and finding out what kind of new combinations and things are in there, then I'll, you know, it's a slow starter though.
Why do you hate Whimsy?
Me and Whimsy had a bad experience when I was younger, but I don't want to go into it, Jeff.
Stay away from your Uncle Whimsy.
Do you have some stuff you've been playing that demonstrate that you don't hate Whimsy?
Whimsy
In
the
fact,
clown.
I do.
Are you got some whimsical stuff
I
for
do
us?
have whimsical stuff.
Oh, boy.
I want a
Well,
whimsical.
actually, no, one whimsical item.
Excellent.
Kingdom Hearts 2. Still making my way through that.
Really?
Nice.
Fantastic game. I really, really like it a lot. And I didn't make it all the way through Kingdom Hearts 1 because I found it too hard. I've mentioned that before. But this one, I don't know if they changed the balance or I just got better or whatever.
They changed the camera angle for sure. The camera in the first one was a nightmare, so the second one was much improved.
I think that was part of my problem.
Yeah.
It was just basic controls.
I
But
told you last week. I mean, I'm convinced I'm going to have to hunt down a copy of Kingdom Hearts 2 now because I loved the first one. I just never played the second one.
so good.
That's
and it
so
looks so beautiful.
It's funny, like my girlfriend actually just started playing Kingdom Hearts 2 recently too. I don't know what it is with everybody picking that game up now.
Well, I've just picked up a few of these just because of the next one's coming. So that's why I'm
2010.
is it that far off.
Yeah.
That's probably how long it'll take me to beat
take
it.
your time.
So yeah, I'm still making my way through Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes because I'm trying to get caught up on that. So I made a lot more
Why that one? Why not like Metal Gear Solid 3?
Well, because I want to start with 1. I want to play the whole
You
series.
should really just play the PS1 version, honestly.
Everybody says that to me too.
Yeah.
But this was the one I got free from Ryan Scott, so that's why I'm playing it.
What if I give you the PS1 version free?
Well,
Will you
then I'd have to
stop
start
playing
over.
Twin Snakes?
Then I'd have to beat Revolver Ocelot all over.
Wait,
again.
why-
You can
not
beat
Twin
the
Snakes?
original. You can beat the original in 3 hours, Jeff.
You can.
Wait, why not? What's the problem with Twin Snakes?
Your
Twin-
3
Twin
hours
Snakes has a lot of
is
issues.
my 20 hours. What?
Twin Snakes has a lot of issues, like
Like what?
Even Kojima. I can't.
I don't know better. So to me, this is great.
Well, I think the big argument that people have is that the new camera angle, the new camera system brought in from Sons of the Patriots, kind of broke the game because it wasn't originally intended to be played in that way.
Right, and so I was told I could cheat with that camera and beat
Right.
Revolver Ocelot, but I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I just beat him the way you're supposed to beat
Okay,
him, by running around in circles and picking him off. I mean, I just chose not to.
You know what was funny is when
Right.
when Twin Snakes first was being developed with Silicon Knights
yeah.
and Nintendo and Kojima. Dennis Dyack kept talking about, he kept referring to himself in the same breath as Hideo Kojima and Shigeru Miyamoto. Like, this is like the dream team of Nintendo, Silicon Knights, and Kojima Productions. And it was like, okay, but
You know what I got to say to Dennis is I don't think that Kojima will be doing the PS3 version of Too Human anytime soon.
yeah. But the
Ouch.
there was a lot of hype for that game, but after it came out, people realized that like it just wasn't what it was supposed to be, and I can't really.
I'm playing it because I never played the Metal Gear series, so I don't really know what.
I just think that the original PS1 version has a lot of charm, even though it's like kind of
Okay.
rough looking now. It still is the way to go, and even if it's your first time through, you can beat it. You can beat it in under 6 hours,
So
no problem.
Are you planning to stick it out through 2 and 3 as well to like?
Yeah, I want to get caught up
to
on
4.
the story, which I'm already confused on. Just like
2 is not going to help you.
Yeah, playing more Metal Gear will not clarify this.
great, awesome. So it just keeps people being clones and brothers of everybody else. Is that the shit that keeps happening.
But it gets even
Great.
worse, like when people start grafting parts of other characters' bodies onto themselves and become hybrids of that.
I thought it was based on a true story.
What
Okay.
2? Yeah. What 2?
Revolver Ocelot's not real?
What MGS2 will do for you, though, is set you up in terms of understanding the characters in 3. So
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, I'm still having fun. And I guess I should mention a PC game since that's what I do.
If you want to.
No, I will, because actually I pimped it on GFW radio. But
you're going to be coming in with some bejeweled shit now, aren't you?
No, Trackmania. The latest Trackmania.
Free now, right?
The free.
It's
It's not
free.
the latest. It's just free now.
It's free. It's
frickin'
not the
free.
latest. It's
you should
free.
be playing this game. We had a blast with it. I had a blast with it a year ago.
Yeah, if you have not picked this up yet, it's
What
on
is this game?
filefront.com, and it's you could just go to trackmania.com. It is a free
arcade racer on the PC. This is this series has been very popular in Europe for a long time, a little less so over here. But they just released a free version of it that a ton of the paid game is unlocked for free. It's a very generous free version of this thing with tons of tracks to race on. And it's a complete blast.
It's the community content that makes this thing awesome. Because all the cars were skinnable, so there's all these skinning packs to make all the cars look cool. And then the tracks are, like, they make Mario Kart tracks look completely tame. You've got...
This is true.
I mean, unbelievable, like, jumping bridges and loop-de-loops and corkscrews and... Some of them are really tough. Yeah. They're really insane.
Right, and there's a huge community of, the game is like half arcade racer and half track creation. So a lot of people just play this game to make their own tracks. And these tracks get uploaded, and they're amazing. They're completely surreal, ridiculous, totally unrealistic.
Has anybody recreated the first level of, like, Super Mario Brothers or something like that?
I don't know, but I would not be surprised to see anything in Trackmania user tracks.
Have you ever gone and done just like the pure stunt tracks where some of them are just like skate parks? It's skate parks with cars.
Yeah, well, this free game, there's a series of unlockable tracks at all different levels of difficulty, and some of them are pure racing. Others are actually just stunts. You have to try to get across this one ridiculous, ravine or whatever it is, and you can actually pay for the game. I think you can even pay for this version, and it will give you access to more online stuff. I might be wrong about that, but the amazing thing here is that this is a grade A PC racing franchise. It was already, this is the kind of game you could pay $50 for and not be sorry.
What's the visual quality like? I'm unfamiliar.
Visual quality is outstanding.
Is it like Need for Speed or something?
Well,
it's different.
It's different. It's a little more cartoony. I mean, it's realistic. The physics feel real on the cars. Real. I'm using air quotes here because it's not. This is not a realistic sim. It's not a driving sim. In fact, you're controlling it with the keyboard. They actually recommend the keyboard as the way to go, as opposed to a gamepad or any other control. So it's an arcade game, but it's still, going through the apex of turns. Things like this still make sense. And the graphics are not realistic. They have a cartoon sheen to it, but you're still in a 3D environment. There's on the PC, even on like medium settings, it's very crisp. It's just for free, this thing it's a no-brainer.
I'd say
Total
it really,
no-brainer.
Like, to me, the visuals thing about it is they pop off the screen. It's really bright.
Very
really
bright.
Bam, really pops off the screen. Looks
good. It's a happy game. Also, the races are incredibly short. Like, sometimes 2 minutes. 2 minutes is like a long one.
Sounds like
sometimes
the game
they're like
Simon.
11 seconds.
Would be a good game for Simon.
2 minutes. You're in it.
That sounds about right.
Well, it is a
little bit of a commitment.
It is a good. Yeah. Do you have 2 minutes? It's a little bit of a casual game, but it scales way up too. When you get into the harder races, good luck. I can't beat them. So.
I like it. I agree. I had a blast with it. I had an absolute blast with it last year when we were playing it. And we did it on the 1UP show. And
if you just want a free PC game just to fuck around with, then Trackmania. And the one other game I want to mention today. That I started because I'm still on my console kick. Yeah, a board game. Go back to sleep. Is Okami.
Yes. Sweet.
Wow. Late to the party, for sure.
Late to the party on that. Well, this is what I'm about.
Please don't be telling...
late to the party.
Wait, so you're playing it on Wii or PS2?
Not Wii. Say no Wii.
I'm playing it on the PS2.
Thank God.
I passed the cool test.
No, the Wii version is actually okay for that game, but the motion controls don't work nearly as well as they should.
Well, and I wanted Wii for the widescreen, but after watching David try to play it, bad controls, Nick, dude, I think you still gave that game an A.
Yes. No, it's still a very good game.
You have to be able to play the game for it to be able to be good.
Yeah.
And I know that it's a cliche to say this has been said in every review,
but it's
maybe
like a painting come to life.
It really is like a work of art. I mean, it really is. I mean, I've never seen a game that looked quite like this, and that played quite like this too. It's really an amazing achievement. I think it's kind of a landmark.
I get so vicariously excited hearing people talk about it when they played it for the first time.
So if THQ made the next WWE game with Sumie brushstroke style, would you call that a work of art?
No, absolutely not. Because I think part of it too, it's all of it together. It's just so organic that the storytelling fits with that gameplay style. That everything that happens is working together so well here, and that the brushstroke stuff is utilized so well in the gameplay. I mean, the stuff about bringing the sun closer so people's clothes can dry and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just one of those games. It's like, wow, someone with real creative artistic vision actually went for it. They had the freedom to make the game they want, and they made it, and it's beautiful.
Talking to Kamiya, the director of that game, was really awesome because you can tell how passionate he is about the game, and he's a real recluse. So our interview with him, which you can, if you want info, Jeff, you can see on okami.oneup.com. Our interview with him was great because he never does interviews. That was like, to my knowledge, it was one of the only North American interviews he's ever done, and he's been doing this since Resident Evil 2. Since Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe, et cetera, But yeah, talking to him and seeing what his motivations are and what his design instincts are, really fantastic.
Yeah, the game is really just in its own league. I mean, it really is. This is the first game in forever that I was able to show my wife and have her not just sort of like be rolling her eyes and walking out of the room.
And you're still early,
muttering
right?
under her breath.
Say what? You're still early in the game, right?
I'm still pretty early. I'm probably, I don't know how long the game is.
It's about 35 hours.
Let me give you some advice.
Because I was going to say,
I'm like 2 hours in.
Let me give you some advice on that front then. You don't want to get sold the bill of goods that Matt was selling on Dark Sector, because that would be one that she would watch and go,
well, listen, I've tried over a decade. Every time there's a game that is sort of at like another level of artistic achievement, I'm like, you got to see this thing, and every time. But this is really the first one where I said, you got to look at how pretty this game is, and she came in and was really like, whoa, like
that's cool.
I didn't actually expect it.
And what I was going to say about where you are is Okami starts really slow too. Like it doesn't, and like 7 hours in, it gets like really good, and then it just keeps getting better and better until the end.
It's funny, the reviews I read talked about the 20-minute unskippable first cutscene. Maybe it's just because I was prepared for it, but that didn't bother me.
No, that's great.
Yeah, I read reviews that were like, geez, you can't even skip past this thing. It's like,
Well,
I kind of didn't want to. It was really nice. It was pretty.
This development team goes through the trouble of making one of the most beautiful games, not just in visual quality, but in terms of the approach to the story.
This is what I'm saying.
The way they fold it out. It's so gorgeous. Why would you want to skip through that?
This is what I'm saying. When I'm saying this game is beautiful, I'm not just meaning on the superficial level of the way it looks, which of course is beautiful, but the way they're telling the story. I mean, it almost feels like you're playing some kind of Japanese story that was written in the 16th century.
Well, the other great thing is that Okami truly is a better Zelda game than the Twilight Princess is. Twilight Princess to me feels like another Zelda game, but Okami feels like a Zelda game with a whole new spin where they reinvented it. Same mechanics or same kind of control scheme, same puzzle solving kind of focus, same blend of action.
Yeah,
very cool.
Honestly, I've looked at the way this game looks, and I think it looks incredible. What put me off, I think, was the sort of slightly abstract nature of the gameplay. I wasn't quite sure what you would be doing in the game, because I'd heard about sort of the.
So rather than playing it and finding it out, you just decided, oh, fuck it.
Yeah,
that's Simon's. That's Simon's thing.
My only problem.
I'm busy. I have to surf the web all day, dude. I've got lots to do, and order paper clips. But no, I mean the whole like painting thing. I thought was I did play it at E3 before it came out,
right?
And I got kind of like,
it ties together because Amaterasu, the wolf goddess that you're playing, is the god of the sun, and the celestial brush and stuff that's supposed to help. Like, it's all this mythological kind of stuff. Like, you're opening the heavens, you're using this brush to let sun shine through, all kinds of stuff like that. Like when Jeff was drying his laundry, you paint a hole, like it's a cloudy day or it's a rainy day, and you paint a hole in the sky, and the sun comes through there and helps solve puzzle elements, stuff like that.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
It teaches it to you really well too. Like in the beginning of the game, there's a nice tutorial. Each mechanic comes like very.
I think I'm a lazy game player, and I think when I hear about something that's a little bit like that, where I'm kind of like, I like the Zelda part of it, but this kind of bit seems a bit like, I don't know, I'm going to like that.
Well, this bit
stuff.
is better than anything.
It's pretty
Zelda
rudimentary.
For
The painting, they're not actually asking you to draw a Monet
Be a
there.
Bob
you know?
Villa.
So you've got to
Or is it Bob Ross?
So you've got to teach me how to appreciate grip shift, and then I need to go and try Akami.
Well, and my one complaint about this game at all is that all the voices, all the people it sounds like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, but
that's a console convention I'm still having trouble getting over. Really?
I think they didn't want, because you know how voices can really skew things for you. Like you either think it's
Sure.
really bad voice acting, or it's really good, or it's totally inappropriate. I think they wanted that kind of like,
I get
the Peanuts
right.
gang parents.
No, I know.
wanted
I didn't need the Mystic Wolf to sound like Barney the
I am
dinosaur.
Amaterasu.
That's true. yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so let me bring this home for a second because I'm going to get out of here on 2 quick games, and one of them is just like he's going to have to just like Nick's going to have to teach you how to appreciate grip shift. Matt really is going to have to teach me how to appreciate Dark Sector because he sold me that from the review crew, and
Yeah, I remember.
yeah, not so much. It's first of all, if you're doing a first-person shooter, it doesn't matter how good the frame rate
Because
is.
you had expectations. You can't play Dark Sector
No, it's
with
not. No,
expectations.
you know what, Nick?
You had
Don't tell me what I think.
expectations.
Don't tell me what I think. It's actually really much more simple than that. It's that the controls are not good. They do not have that feel of I'm in. There's 2 kinds of controls in shooters on consoles. There's guys who get it right, like Call of Duty, where it has just the right amount of acceleration and stickiness, and you feel like you're aiming where you want to. And then there are controls like Dark Sector, which feels like I should have a mouse because I can never get the crosshair right where I want
Played
it
on
the
360
enemy.
or PS3?
On 360, and I played around with all the settings.
What
and all
did
that kind of
Matt give
stuff.
it? Did he give it a
He
B?
gave it like a B, like a
I
B.
gave
or
it a B
plus.
So how
minus.
could you go into that overhyped?
B is a good score.
Good score, but not like, oh my God, you got to play this score.
Because it's Matt. Matt was actually liking it and enjoying it.
He doesn't like very many games.
Did you play Pariah?
Yes, and it was crap too.
Same deal.
Same
wasn't it?
exact
I have
deal.
to say, these guys, they're a good crew. They do pretty good stuff, but they always, I think they struggle. They struggle with controls, the tightness of controls, and feel, which is super important.
100% agree.
Yeah, and I remember playing Pariah and thinking it feels a bit floaty. It's not quite precise. It doesn't, and after Halo, any kind of first-person shooter obviously had a big, kind of like mountain to climb to match it. But
Which Call of Duty 4 expertly handled.
Just nailed it.
they fucking nailed it.
So Dark
And,
Sector, the exact
right,
same thing. I mean,
right.
you have that same problem. Obviously, I mean, it is a very pretty game. It's visually upgraded, except that it's got. I really thought it was an Unreal Engine game until I found out that it wasn't. And here I am in sewers under some Russian abandoned city being attacked by zombies. It's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, how many times have I seen this game? It's like,
How many times have I been in a Russian sewer being attacked by zombies?
God, that's always
all
happening
the
to me.
time.
I mean, in a sewer,
hate it
or
when that
some other
happens.
dark area, and there are these, guys coming at you, and I got a hatchet. I'm gonna put my hatchet in your head.
So uninspired premise combined with like not optimal controls.
Yeah, the glaive's a lot of fun. If
Equals
they
wank.
yeah, they should have just gone down the glaive road. I don't know. The glaive road is interesting and fun, but the rest of the game just doesn't hold it together for me at all. To just bleh.
Okay.
I was still more excited for that game when I first saw the very first screenshots.
Yeah.
Well, that's
eons
because-
ago,
that's because
with
it was
the guy
a-
hiding in the shadow and the whole kind of fake screenshot thing.
That's
and I
because it was
like,
the first PS3 screenshot we'd all seen, so that
Right.
was like, oh boy, excitement.
Well, here's another.
There was something about it. It had a mood. It looked different. It looked cool and spacey.
And the
and
teaser too. They had like a little minute-long teaser.
Yeah.
Going back and watching that now, it's still cool.
like a cool sci-fi like movie. It looked fantastic.
Here's another game design note. If you're like making a game, don't get too smart for yourself. Don't think that you're going to have like this great immersive experience by throwing someone into a game with absolutely no grip of what they're doing. I mean, so you start this game and you're an operative in some sort of black, commando suit or whatever, and the first thing the guy tells you is, "Oh, you'll be right at home. It's just like that mission we were on 5 years ago." Well, fuck's sakes, I have no idea what you're talking about.
But you've lost your memory.
Of course.
Yeah, you had amnesia.
Of course.
Of course.
I've lost
yeah,
my
you
memory.
Did. You knew it would be fighting zombies.
I've lost my memory that told me how the controls would work. I've lost my memory that told me what I might be doing in this
But
game.
every game starts that way. I mean, every game starts with
Dude, at
you.
least
Wait,
you didn't.
did you get the glaive? Because it takes a couple levels. I just want to make sure.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, no, I got the glaive.
Okay.
And then they
At least
eventually
you-
teach you the retouch. Like, when you get the glaive with retouch, it becomes a lot more fun. Definitely becomes a lot more
Yeah,
fun.
it starts out ridiculous.
Even
slow,
after you
but
get like the Zelda boomerang thing where you throw the glaive into something like it's electric, and then you have the electric glaive. It's like, oh, okay, that's great. It's
Did
least
it
you
get
didn't-
better then? Did it get better?
yeah,
then?
it definitely gets better, but not better enough to keep my interest.
At least you
done.
didn't wake up on like a spaceship coming out of suspended animation and the spaceship suddenly gets attacked by aliens, dude.
Okay.
That happened to Milky last weekend.
Yeah. When I played Halo and then Half-Life.
All right, and then since we're going to talk about the state of console online in the just coming up after the break, 5 minutes only because it just came up this morning. But Metal Gear Online beta, we have it up and running in David's video lab, and so I played. Yeah, so I played 2 rounds. So very, 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 very first impressions. People are gonna flip on it. It's pretty cool. It's really, really, really cool. I really like first of all, the pace is entirely different, and I think that as people come to grips with it, they're going to find that they play this game extremely differently. If you get the running pace is slow. The running pace is really slow. So if you get caught in the open, you can tell it's very much that tactical sort of game, because you get caught in the open, you are absolutely dead meat. And I really like the way they handled the cover system, especially compared to like games like Gears, where you have these guys who are like, super, super engagedly jump down behind cover and they're all hunkered down. This is much more subtle. It's very much, the guy comes up and he actually looks like he's sneaking up to the cover and he's like.
I like the sound of that. I don't like these multiplayer games where everyone's skating around the landscape at 50 miles an hour.
No, this looks. My first impression is it looks really neat.
Too old.
Does this have anything to do with Metal Gear?
Well, I mean, only to the extent of the characters and the design style of it being stealth action. Not stealth action, but espionage action.
Everybody Solid Snake or what?
No, you got like tons of characters, like, just the anonymous soldiers that you take down in the game. And then, at least in the previous build of Metal Gear Online, with that came with Snake Eater and stuff, you can unlock. You can play as Snake. You can unlock other main characters, but they all adhere to the same mechanics. Like the duck, the crouch, the crawling.
That's all in there.
There's going to be a demo of this or some sort of
beta.
Like with 4.
This is the beta.
Yeah.
Right.
It's up right now. The beta.
Metal Gear Solid 4 comes with the full thing.
Oh, with the full thing.
Well, but it comes with like only a couple levels and characters, and the rest has to be paid for.
Yeah,
that's what I'm wondering. How are they going to do? How are they doing it?
Downloadable content.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I would want to. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And then the tactical part with the weapons and all those sort of choices is very much a page out of like the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six deal, where you have lots of different weapons with different ballistic profiles and how you want to play the game. You're also putting points into abilities, because David said something about I put my points into assault rifles because I immediately picked up a P90, and he's like, no, you don't want to go with that gun. So it looks cool. More on this next week, but just an initial impression was, yeah, actually, after being like concerned, and I still don't think the login process is good. I don't think the way they have the disconnect from PSN is good. But the game itself definitely looks like it has a lot of potential. And on that note, give us a second. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk about how much online gaming is relevant for 2008 in the console world. So we're back, and we're going to talk about some console online gaming. Let me tell you where I'm coming from, because it's 2008, and we're getting ready to. Part of this has been there's like a whole bunch of things coming together for me on this. So part of it is that we were talking about which Grand Theft Auto you're going to buy, and I did finally own up to the fact that I'm definitely going to get the 360 version because I want the DLC ultimately. I know I'm going to want it for playing the game, and I know that I'm going to want the ease of looking online, just turning on my machine for a second and seeing who's playing and who's not playing, what they're doing, and that's what Live gives me. But I thought at the same time, how much is Live really helping the 360? Because then you have games on the Wii. Wii's selling a ton of software. I think Andrew just told us that there are 26 million selling titles on the Wii. They have this tremendous forecast for our software sales in the next fiscal year. Yet at the same time, no one's thinking that the online, especially the online gaming setup for the Wii, is exemplary. I mean, friend codes, we bitched about that a million times. We have the MGO beta being delayed. We have home beta being delayed. We have the PS3's network still not living up to anything like Live. You disconnect with the MGO beta, like we were just talking about, where you have a different login for Konami, a login for the game, all these separations. But is that hurting? PS3's selling very well now, and people are buying those titles. So where are we? How much does online gaming matter to consoles?
I mean, how many people are online now, like on 360? Because, I mean, the first Xbox was, what, 10%?
Yeah, now it's more like at least like
50%?
50%, because broadband saturation has reached much wider audience than it did back in the Xbox day.
And as Simon and I were talking about, definitely in the hardcore realm, it certainly matters. I mean, I would go ahead and walk out on the limb and say that for this generation, the way things have transpired this far, that we're far enough in, and I can say, I think 360 is going to win the title of the online gaming console for this generation. I mean, there will definitely be great advances in PS3. I'm looking forward to like what Resistance has planned, but I think that there's Sony just hasn't responded strongly enough with PlayStation Network, and I'm not convinced about Home.
The question is, does an online service resonate outside of the hardcore gaming audience? When you think about like the Wii and PS3, for example, and where they're going to be taking some of this stuff, the question is, with the Xbox, the 360, I completely believe that the hardcore are like, yes, we want online. That's why we've got the 360. That makes perfect sense. We want to play online games, and also there's the service attached with it, downloading stuff, all of that kind of stuff. So those two things go together, and that's great. But then you look at like the Wii and the audience that the Wii is getting, and I'm wondering where Nintendo's going to take it, because when I look at what I start to think about is, I don't think an online service is something that people in the mainstream audience can get their head around as a service. It doesn't really mean anything. It's sort of meaningless until you put some kind of social interaction or something that means something that might use that service into it. And I don't just mean like gaming together. I mean, like for example, you have like the iPod with Nike Plus. I don't know whether you guys know about that thing where you kind of put this thing in your shoe and you go running, and then you upload your stuff to Nike's site and you can compare yourself to other people. And I think about Wii Fit, and I'm thinking, well, maybe they could do the same thing there. And then it's online, but that's not the point. The point is that you can compare your stuff with other people. You know what I mean?
Like how many calories you've burned playing what activities? No, seriously.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like it's at that point, the only way you can get people in that audience, in that mainstream audience, to understand what's going on is to give it sort of a real world purpose, rather than giving them a more abstract thing, which is the service or the sort of structure.
So would you project that out and say that you think Home then will resonate outside of the core?
Well, I think that's yet to be determined, but I think it has it has more of a chance, I think, in some ways than maybe Xbox Live, because Xbox Live is lots of menus and hardcore games that get and matching people and all that stuff, and that's fine and good. I
think Xbox Live is actually pretty elegant. I mean, they do have a lot of menus. They could streamline some things even further, but
it's the Sims thing though. When I look at Home and you look at the Sims and you think about sort of they do look a bit similar, and they have that kind of like, I get it, I'm a person, I'm sort of in an environment that looks like the real world, and I can walk up to someone and talk to them. I'm not finding them on a list.
You are something. You're not some like deity never getting a menu.
And I can't figure out whether that's more hardcore in some ways because it's a virtual world, or whether it's more mainstream because they look like people.
It depends on how Sony executes it, because if Home is supposed to be a way for you to build this online house, show what you've got and stuff, let me tell you what I like about Xbox Live. It's very organized. I mean, like, you're paying for the service. Shane argues that it should be free. I mean, there's pros and cons to both things, but what you're getting for your $50 a year or whatever is you're getting a very organized environment where everything you put in, it's attached to your gamer tag, like Garnett was saying. With MGO, you have a separate password and login for MGO, but you also have a separate login and password for your PS3, which, assuming that you save it to your console, doesn't really become an issue. But if every game that you play online on PS3 requires different information, that's just as much of a headache as having friend codes on the Wii or the DS.
Yeah, keeping track of that stuff is a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah,
and it's a barrier.
But does it even matter? I mean, really? Let's go back to this. So let's answer that question first. Does it even matter? Because Wii's doing great, PS3 is doing great. Are there enough people that care about online for it to matter yet?
Do we know how many people are playing online on Wii, like Smash Brothers?
Andrew says no, we don't know, but I mean, I don't think that it's...
Well, that was my point. They don't need to care about it.
Right.
I mean, I guess so. I mean, it's kind of like, does it matter? Well, it matters in as much as certain games will use it in a really cool way that will help them sell more and resonate with a more mainstream audience, perhaps. But does it matter in and of itself as a bullet point on the console? Probably not.
Right, and I would guess that probably the numbers are going to end up being relatively small, percentage-wise, for Smash Brothers online, don't you think? I mean, I just think that what you're saying, that this is more of a hardcore gamer thing. Probably the majority of people who are buying Smash Brothers don't even know you can play it online or care.
Yeah, but that killer app that gets everybody's ass online is right around the corner, and you never know when it's coming.
Animal Crossing? I mean,
that could be it.
That's been talked about as like their kind of hub, because I think that would work really well as kind of a home type thing where you have your friends and you get in a room and you go and play somewhere together.
And the interesting thing about that is that that is a kind of a cooperative game. See, I think that's part of the problem here, is that online still, for the most part, means you're talking about a hostile environment, which people who aren't hardcore gamers don't want to be involved in.
They don't want to get blown out of.
I
they
mean,
don't
we've
wanna
all
get
been on
gibbed.
Xbox Live and played shooters, and you know what you're hearing in your voice chat.
What if with Wii Sports you could sort of like call up your relatives on the other side of the country and say we're all going to play together. So now the family's in this room, there's a family in that room, and we're all playing
That'd be
Wii
fantastic.
Sports.
Well, then,
and it's not that they bought the console because it had online written on the box, but the fact that they can play with their family across the country is
well, then
cool.
Nintendo has to get really has to improve the quality of their online environment. You know, like I said before with Mario Kart, it doesn't even have voice chat.
Right.
You know, and they've proved that they can do voice chat in games, in lower tech games. So why not that one? So what they need is that they need to have something like they have to get a little bit more adventurous with the hardware, the technology. Maybe they have to put out like a webcam. You know.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I see with like the Wii. When I'm thinking sort of like where it's all going to go, I think of families having the camera and using it to communicate, just chat, playing games and just
that's like what the PlayStation Eye does. It has a nice directional mic in it that will just pick up. Like when Shane plays Burnout, he uses that and just chats through the mic in the room, which would work great on Wii.
But who knows that? Nobody. Right. And like but Nintendo have the power with a particular way of packaging things right now and a way of reaching. These people are listening right now to Nintendo.
I got the name right there.
We see.
There you go.
Uh-oh.
Free
Ding,
one for you, Nintendo.
Trademark.
You're
Free
working
one.
for the wrong company.
Yeah.
Reggie, did you hear this?
I kind of agree with Jeff. It's shared experience. I think will be the killer app to bring it to a broader market and make it become as relevant as the consoles. I mean, and I guess maybe that's where I'm coming from, is that you've got these millions and millions of consoles selling, but I don't feel like I don't feel like, especially outside of Xbox, that online has become the force within console gaming that people have been heralding its arrival as for now 3 or 4 years.
Well, do you think it's better to have an organized structure? And I'm being completely ambivalent about this, but like, do you think it helps more to have an organized structure with like something like Xbox Live, or do you think it benefits the industry or the console more to have an open platform like the PS3 does? Because I've heard from other publishers, like, the reason why they never did anything on PS2 is because you have to host your own servers.
Right.
There's a lot of maintenance there. It's something that like most publishers don't want to deal with. I mean, like I love playing Burnout Paradise online. That's fun to just jump in and start running into people. But at least with Xbox Live, I know that even if only 3 people are playing, that game will still be playable online. Versus, if only 3 people are playing 2 years from now, will EA just like shut that server down?
I would like what I thought I was going to get on PS3 that hasn't happened yet, which was a just simplified version of Live integrated right into the PS3 desktop that would have the basic functions that I needed of just knowing, awareness of when my friends are online or not and what they're playing. I mean, right now I can see if they're online. If you go over there, they'll have like a blue dot
in the dashboard, not in a game though.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I can't get to that in the game.
Why the hell can't they? I mean, even that would shut people up and tie them over to home.
I know. It would make me much happier. Something like that, very simple. And then I really expected, like, with them being aware, and especially when Phil was there talking about, when he first rolled home in at GDC 2 years ago, he talked about, we get gaming 3.0 or whatever. I fully expected to see something along the lines of, basic sort of social network things in the top level of the PS3 dash, like some basic stuff shared amongst your friends, some shared links, or here's what I'm reading, or it's just some basic things like that have been around on the net for 4 or 5 years now in Web 2.0. And that sort of community building stuff, I think that degree of organization would be really, really cool if it was just built right into the top level.
Who here has played the home beta?
None of us. They haven't really pushed it internally. They're kind of doing that, intentionally keeping it out of Journo's hands, I guess.
Okay.
But hopefully we'll get a chance to see it soon.
I think once that and Little Big Planet are both out, that could be very different. Like, I think those two things combined, because that is a heavy focus on like a YouTube type system, which from everything I've seen looks like it works really well and really accessibly. And if you can just, be in home and then hop into Little Big Planet and have all that just be a couple of steps.
This is somewhat un-Sony as well to do the beta. I mean, and then to sort of like hold it back like they just announced, right?
I think Sony Europe is more interested in the online.
They're reacting, right?
area.
But they are listening, obviously, and looking at it and seeing what's wrong with it, and so they are paying attention to it. They're not just launching this thing and expecting everyone to kind of.
So are they paying attention to it in the proper way? Because the quote that we have from Kaz Hirai said that we need more time to refine the service to ensure a more focused gaming entertainment experience than what it is today.
Yeah, it's probably just a big room right now with a bunch of avatars running around in it. I mean, maybe that's what it is right now, and it needs to be much more than that.
But maybe that's
all agreed.
No, maybe
right now
that's
it's
the
probably
way.
like Second Life without the mass amounts of real estate.
Yeah,
without the walking penis
and the dildos. Yeah.
But maybe that's the part that makes it more appealing to the broad market.
dildos.
Maybe if they make it.
Why do you have
Yes,
to say
the dildos. Absolutely.
Once they add walking dildos to Home, then I'm sold.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Until then,
Absolutely.
fuck it. Yep.
I give up. Seriously give up. What I'm saying is, if he's saying that they want to make it a more focused gaming entertainment experience, I'm wondering whether he's thinking that it needs to be more entertaining in of itself, or is he thinking I need to make sure that this has point-to-point comparison to Xbox Live, and we beat them on those points.
Well, right now it looks like a nightclub with nobody in it, right?
Right.
It looks like sort of walking in and then.
Yeah, but there's like the bowling alley and little arcade machines. There's already a lot more than when you go into the live menu. I mean, you
absolutely.
But I guess what they've found with the beta is that that's not that compelling for that long, and so.
What a surprise!
Well, what a surprise, right?
Yeah.
So there's obviously a lot more to put into it, but of course, if it is truly a sort of a third generation, or second generation social network or whatever you want to call it, in the end, then it's the people and what they're not going to expect, what they can't plan for, what they can't build in, that's going to make it really sing. And we're never going to know we're not going to know what that is until the service has been out for at least 6 months and people are starting
what
to
actually
get into
is
it.
supposed to be the point of? I mean, you go in there.
Well, originally it was like
log in. You're in this world. And then what?
Originally it was supposed to be like a portal. You could go. You have your own space, which you can buy furniture or clothes, whatever, and set up. You can set up a TV in your space and play videos on your hard drive.
Bring your
for
friends
who are in your house, or music. But it's supposed to be a portal where you then all hop straight into a game from.
I see.
It was supposed to be this kind of more accessible step getting into a real game. Now it sounds like they want to make it something that stands on its own more. It was also supposed to have all these commercial spaces. Like you could go and walk into a movie theater and watch trailers.
I think it's
like
gonna
Second Life.
Well, it's becoming a virtual world.
I think it's gonna be a big.
But then all I think about is guys like Sean Elliott
griefing you.
who are going to go into this thing and fuck with everybody. Yeah.
And doesn't that make it more?
Isn't that going to happen?
I feel like it's going to be a big visual like menu. It's like an unwieldy menu right now. That's the vibe I'm getting. It's like when you're playing Lego Star Wars and you're running around like the whatever it is, Cantina bar or whatever, and you're trying to run into each door takes you to a specific episode.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be something like that.
And also to Simon's point, I mean, just this thing about like, or what you said that they're finding, it's not that compelling. I mean, really, who wants to go into this thing and then go into a movie theater? I don't know. That seems like one of those things that sounds great on paper. And then once you're actually in there, you're like, why the fuck would I want to go in there?
And then pretty soon, is that better than just watching a movie? Like downloading a trailer and watching it on live? Is that better?
It's a different experience,
right?
Yeah,
and it's possibly as accessible, but just different. I mean, I think.
guess.
But when you talk about people like Sean Elliott going in there and fucking with people,
Oh, God.
I mean that's Nintendo's nightmare, right? About online, it always has been. That's always been, I think, their part of their reticence.
But that's
has
reality,
always been,
right? I mean,
well,
this is what people do when they're online,
right? But they're also, when I think about Nintendo and where they're going with stuff, I mean that's the kind of thing you would expect them not to do, right? Because they like to control the environment. They think about children. They think about safety. They think about like the person. They want to control.
They don't want to hear. They don't. Maybe that's why Mario Kart doesn't have voice chat, because
Right.
they don't want to hear like I'm going to shoot my banana up your ass, faggot.
That's they don't want your Uncle Whimsy in there.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But see, like with Xbox Live, they're catering to a very specific audience. Maybe
Yes.
they'll expand it. Maybe they'll offer something like Home. But I don't think that like the kind of gamers that we are, maybe like hardcore gamers, I don't think we're necessarily going to stand around and like, okay, Jeff, I've been in your home room for 5 minutes now. What the fuck are we doing here? Can we go play a game?
If you're in my
Yeah, but
room
think
longer than
about-
5 minutes, I'm kicking you out.
But think about the creativity that's out there right now with like indie game developers, for example. And if this world is somewhat kind of deformable, and you can do things to it, and you can kind of bring your content to it, then I think that some of the minds that are out there in the indie game scene, for example, I mean, like the guys that did Flow and things like that, you could make some incredibly amazing spaces that you could just walk into, and they could just have a vibe or kind of a thing going on, or interesting kind of interactivity.
It could be cool.
really, really, really cool.
I'm going to say two words to you, though. Sims Online.
Yeah.
Yep. Overthought.
Okay.
And I think that
they thought they were going to create that kind of world.
They did.
And this is the world's most popular franchise. And you know when it was cool? It was cool in the beta, because the beta was all being manned by creative people at Maxis. Once you had actual real humans, most of whom are mouth-breathing morons, it was boring. And
well, that's when, but you know, you can have
no
something.
offense to all the mouth-breathing morons out there.
I
We
think
love you anyway.
I honestly
try
think-
using your nostrils.
I think
and there you have your bomb them for the week comment.
Yeah, there you go. That's who
think
you're bombing this week.
I think what Nick was talking about, like an Animal Crossing hub, you know, I think that could appeal to, could be the most successful application if they ever choose to do something like that. Because Animal Crossing appeals to hardcore gamers, and it appeals to, like, you know, non-gamers, casual gamers. You know, it has that, you know, maybe not Simon. You know, like, do you want to be Mr. Owl or Mr. Hippo? You know, running around in your Animal
It takes more
Crossing
than 2
world.
minutes to dig a hole, so you're out.
Maybe I want to be Mr. Hippo.
All right,
You don't know.
I'll sell you a shovel. How about that? It's like,
could be
get
Mr.
online and
I could be
sell
Mr.
some
Hippo.
shovels.
The fuck?
Tom Nook's gonna own your ass.
I think I agree that it's Wii. I think there's a tremendous unrealized potential in the channels on Wii. I think that's. I mean, we're talking about interface at home. To me, also sort of overcomplicates things. I think there's some really cool things there. But again, I go back to where is the simple sort of stuff? Everybody does Facebook. Everybody does stuff like Flickr or Twitter or blogs, and it's all just straightforward stuff. And Second Life is empty other than the people who are doing those marketing things. So then I look at like the Wii's front end, and it has these channels, and I think, how much potential is there to do something other than like the quiz show thing? Like, how many different channels could I have there populated with interesting sort of internet connected stuff that would get me involved in the community, that would build the Wii community for me outside of just my box and the Miis that show up on it?
I like the Weather Channel.
Yeah.
That
You know,
could be
when my internet's not running, which is never.
I like the news thing. I like spinning the globe around and seeing all the
that's really cool.
news
Yeah, that's
items.
cool.
So think about
That's
this.
really
What if
cool.
they just pulled the idea of OS 10 widgets and dropped those onto the channels? How much more would I feel like that's a really cool connector? Like, now I'm starting to feel like my Wii is something that's out there and I'm in this community, and then add some, like, you know, some stuff where I'm pulling in friends.
But that would still be Nintendo controlled, not like user controlled at all, which I think is part of home, is that you have your space, which I think that is the connection to like Facebook and all that.
I agree.
Yeah.
But maybe there's a way that I build a space in the Wii channels that I
think
share. I don't know.
I mean,
there's-
out of like, you know, definitely non-penis shaped blocks, because they will make sure there's no way to construe that as anything offensive.
Okay, so
I'm
here's
waiting
how-
for the penis patch.
all right, here's how we're going to wrap this thing up then. Quickly, each of you tell me how much
make it grow.
how much online, because obviously, not to like start the whole console war thing over again, but to say, because obviously we still have a strong competition amongst the three hardware manufacturers, how much is online playing into this generation, and how much is it ultimately going to play into it? Simon?
Well, I think it's already a huge part of it because of the Xbox, you know, sell-through numbers and how popular that is. So that's obviously it's already there, right? But I think when you look at the Wii and you look at the PS3, I think it's going to have to go somewhere different. And I think it's going to be what I talked about, which is it's going to have to mean something to people going forward for those consoles, for the mainstream.
Jeff?
I'm with the VP of Paperclips. I think he's basically right, and I think Nick's point about Animal Crossing was great. I think it's going to take a couple. I think there's still a huge hump to overcome in terms of unintimidating people. It took forever on the PC. It took World of Warcraft really to get a lot of people to say, I'm not going to be afraid to interact with other people online. And maybe Nintendo and Sony will figure that out.
Nick?
I think it's going to depend a lot on the types of games. I think that right now there's Halo and Call of Duty, but nothing much else played on live is that relevant, I think, outside of those. So I think it really depends on if they can expand games that require an interesting online element that people really latch onto and play a lot like that. And I think Little Big Planet could be something like that on PS3.
That's a huge point. Call of Duty and Halo soaking up so many of the people who are actually playing on live. And what else are other people playing?
Or a WoW.
It's like
or a
that,
WoW
and
on
then-
live, right?
yeah.
One
Yeah.
day.
And then like Uno is third, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Interesting. And there might even be a spot for casual games. I think that for the Xbox core audience, continues to be a big point, but I'm not convinced that it's going to amount to a important element of the plan for PS3 and Wii, maybe not even this generation at all.
Oh, yeah.
Milk, bring it home.
I think that I agree with Jeff on some levels. I think there needs to be, whether or not it's a service like Xbox Live or it just becomes like an application or a game like Animal Crossing or Home or I think what's really going to open it up and really bring people into online gaming is if there is something that's non-confrontational. I know hardcore gamers who don't want to start playing Call of Duty 4 online because they know that starting off at level 1 is just really crap, and if there's something that's really engaging either visually, creatively, that people can do cooperatively together and also share their own customized, they can show off their own personalities online. I think that's when things are going to take off, and whether it's Home, whether it's some game that we don't know about, it remains to be seen, but I think it's going to have to reach that level. People stop having to think about conflict in terms of online gaming, and once they go more co-op, then it's going to be really cool.
All right, everybody, there you go. You're out online right now, so give us your opinion on boards.oneup.com in this week's thread. If you stick around, we'll be right back in just a second with the news. All right, folks, we have some excellent news for you today. I want to start off real quick because we talked a lot about Little Big Planet. A couple of the Media Molecule guys have sent me PMs in different spots, Facebook and OneUp. And thanks, guys. I really was crushed that we did not get a chance to come over to the event. And we are absolutely really looking forward to playing around with the game. And anytime you guys are in San Francisco, you are absolutely welcome right here on the show, provided that everybody can.
It's at Coachella. Maybe Shane will play some.
I know. I got to talk to Sony PR because we need to get a build now. We should get a build now because I want to play around with it and see what we can do with it. And really, I think that game's gonna be monumentally important and cool for Sony. So anyway,
you just want to tweak your little brown man.
Excuse me?
I can do that in a little bit. All right, so the guys over in the UK also at Criterion Studios are continuing to add more plans to the Burnout Paradise. And this time, the next update they're talking about is Davis. This one's going to add motorcycles and nighttime play to the game. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of content they keep adding to the game. And extra props to them for rolling back the released patch that came out this week that caused some issues with the frame rate on some people's machines. So those guys, unbelievable in the online space.
I'm curious to see how the bikes play.
Yeah?
I mean...
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's going to be
it's way different than Grand Theft Auto, at least, and that's not even like a decent driving model.
Have you played a game ever that had autos in it that got motorbikes right?
Nope.
I haven't really.
Well, Grand Theft Auto was like the bikes were really fun, but they were very different.
They were very different. Test Drive Unlimited had bikes in it, but I didn't think they played that well. They didn't seem to have like the right, lean
How about
and
PGR 4?
Yeah.
Midnight Club. Great call. Midnight Club did a really good job with it. That's a good call.
PGR 4 didn't do as good a job.
No.
It
just seemed this would be crazy going so fast and having tighter turning. Like, I mean, I'm sure it'll be good because it's Criterion, but I'm curious to see.
Well, how are they going to pull in especially like the drifting thing? I mean, I don't really think of bikes as drifting, but I mean, you could I hope they go more like just crazy with it.
Or smashing into each other.
Wait, I just thought about it. Yeah, there's got to be a rider. How are the crashes going to be now, right?
Oh yeah, I wonder if are they going to bring in like physics to the bodies
body
and have
deformation.
You'll be a robot.
Get decapitated on a street sign.
That'd be awesome. I have this image of like a helmet bouncing down the freeway.
Oh, it's got to be in there.
This
you
is
just
freaking me out.
You know they thought about that.
I can't listen to
Oh
that
shit!
stuff.
Yeah, Jeff rides a motorbike.
Yeah, actually, I listening to you guys talk. I actually don't play games with motorcycles.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of that?
And I hit a taxi in New York at 50 miles an hour on my motorcycle. Well, he actually cut me off. So
yeah.
It's a good thing you weren't around at the end of the day yesterday. Skip and I were looking out the window right behind his desk, and there's like guys sprawled with blanket and bike standing there, and we were like,
okay, next subject.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
News.
Ample numbers of bloody bodies on the grounds in the hallways of Silent Hill 5, which is now going to be coming out in September. A couple of announcements around this. So first of all, it's been retitled to Silent Hill Homecoming, which I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Does that mean that it's no longer like part of the official
Sounds more like a
numerical
family game.
Yeah, sounds sweet.
It's like a high
Is it
school.
on Wii
Come
now?
on, honey, let's play Silent Hill Homecoming.
Oh, come on.
So
What the fuck?
Homecoming, that means it's coming back to Silent Hill. Wasn't it always in Silent Hill?
Well, where was the room? I never played the room. Was that in Silent Hill?
It was in a room in Silent Hill. So it's like it should be Silent Hill : Silent Hill.
Homecoming.
I don't know. This whole thing's strange anyway. I mean, they first gave it to the Collective. I mean, who recently have done like Mark Echo's Getting Up and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Good game.
And now we found out that Foundation 9 has like pulled the plug on Harker, and that the team that was working on Harker, which was another sort of horror genre game that was in pre-development, that team's sort of been rolled into the Collective team that's working on the Silent Hill game. Does it have direction? I don't know.
That's interesting. I wonder why they did that.
Does what have direction?
The
Silent
game.
Hill?
Yeah. Do they have are they really on target, or is it sort of drifting around and they're trying to bring people in?
Well, it can't be any worse than the previous Silent Hills, the last couple that were on PS2. I mean, I don't know if Silent Hill was always kind of like an alternative, but really kind of a second-tier survival horror game compared to the Resident Evil series. I mean, it was just like, oh, here comes bloody half nurse with no arms shuffling down the hall from a camera angle that you can't actually see. So I don't think the Collective can do any worse than that.
I'm just interested to see.
You're
if,
a fan then?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if like being developed here now instead of in Japan, they can maintain that tension, the things that that pacing that made Silent Hill cool for those of us who liked it.
Shane was hot for it when he saw it a few months ago. I mean, he actually was like, "You'll be surprised. These guys actually know what they're doing with it."
Yeah.
So.
I'm going to say the combat's better, but I don't want the focus to be on combat. I still want that kind of weird, creepy, I like things disappearing in the
You don't
fog.
want them to have swords? No swords, Nick?
Swords.
Nintendo has been raking in the cash, as we've been previously noting, and it has been in every NPD, but GameIndustries.biz has the Q4 earning results that spell it out, where they took in more than $1 billion in the past year, and that the console sales made up almost half of that amount, and that they've sold 18.6 million Wii units in total over the last year.
Wait, they took in $1 billion?
They took in $1 billion.
No, that's not. Is that right? More than that.
$1 billion US dollars.
I thought their profits were $3.5 billion last year.
The number breaks down into $450 million out of Japan, $286 million out of Europe, and that's earnings from handheld. There's a mess here. If you really want to get numbers in dollars, they made a lot of money.
All right.
So they continue to have more reports. Nintendo making a lot of money.
Wow.
Yeah, no big surprise. Shack News says that some of their Metroid Prime was a big game for them, done by Retro Studios down in Austin. Shack News has a report that several key players there departed earlier this week. This would be design director Mark Piscini. I guess that's how you say that. Hopefully I did not mess that up. Art director Todd Keller and principal technology engineer Jack Matthews. Now, there'd be some speculation here, maybe, that they left because of changes in direction on what they were doing internally.
They were escorted off the premises.
But I know it does say that. So the Shack News report does say they were escorted off the premises, but that's not uncommon in a studio environment, is it?
Exactly. One should not over-dramatize that. If you
that might be an HR thing. They just have to do that.
Right, you need to leave. Right.
That's disappointing, though.
On secrets, whatever.
The impact that may have is, can't be understated. Like Metroid Prime on Wii, to me, is one of the most perfect controlling games I've ever played, and I think that game is so fun. I mean, just moving around with this stick and then aiming wherever you want to, and the camera moves with your, wherever you're aiming the Wiimote. It's like perfect.
Yeah, we've been doing that on the PC for a while, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's the first console game to actually do that right. Whereas where you're playing first-person shooters in a very conventional manner with the Xbox controller or the PS3, DualShock, whatever. On Wii, that's how it feels so natural. It feels like you are Samus Aran or something like that. That's how the controls, in my opinion, should have been in Resident Evil 4 on Wii. Where you aim, once you hit the edge of the TV, it doesn't stop. Which is how it does in Resident Evil. And in Metroid Prime, you move to the edge of the TV and your whole perspective swings. It's awesome. Have you played that yet?
Not on Wii, no.
Try it, and believe me, you'll say it. That's
and I think something Jeff brings out there is a point that, to me, and I'd actually like to go back and look at the numbers. I don't perceive that Metroid was the success to the degree that it ought to have been based on how good it was, or on the reputation of the series.
I bet Nintendo has this really skewed perspective that everything should sell like Wii Sports.
Right.
which
And it does, but it's
comes
still
with it.
Metroid Prime came out and we had it, and then it just doesn't seem like it really popped, does it? It just doesn't seem like it really captured the attention. I mean, think about when Metroid Prime came back, and even Prime 2. Those were, I mean, they captured our attention.
Yeah, but the
We were
Xbox
excited about
360
them.
was really in its kind of its high point at that time. That's when Microsoft was putting out all its AAA games, in that year. So I think that Metroid Prime didn't have as much of a surprise. It was a real big finessing, in terms of the control, but graphically, people were a little bit used to it.
So there's also some curiosity about what Retro Studios might be up to next. Perhaps they weren't going to be going down the Wii platform route, and they decided to go back that direction. These guys left because of that. I don't know. I do know that Mike Capps of Epic was at the New York Comic Con, and he was interviewed by IGN and had some, pointed comments about the Wii and why he doesn't like or think that they should be won't be working on that technology. About the Wii, he had a few choice things to say, such as, I think that it's kind of like a weird virus because I've not yet found a reason to play with my Wii since then. He's talking about, I played with my Wii during Thanksgiving, and it's like a family thing. Everybody gets around the family, television.
That's when
plays.
we usually all play with our Wiis.
During family dinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes on to flesh out this idea of it being about like a virus a little
He
more.
said flesh.
Well, no. What he's saying, and I read this. I read it too. But what he's saying, I think, is that a lot of his friends have a Wii, and it sits there next to the TV, and they kind of played it when they got it, and then they kind of haven't touched it for a while, and then when their friends come around, they kind of get it out again, but they put it away again, and what they really.
Why you guys keep saying stuff? We get it out again. Flesh.
I'm just.
We play with our Wiis.
Because I know you love this dirty talk. I fucking know you love this.
But this is not unique.
Yeah, didn't we?
This is not a
Didn't
unique.
we get over that?
This is not a unique situation. So
Guess
Epic's
not.
Mike Capps, who I've never heard of until just now, it's like he's saying that oh wow, like I bought it, I played with it when it first came out, and then I haven't touched it since. That's what everybody seems to be doing.
But that's not what he really should have said was his second point was, I think, about how they're a technology company and they're always moving forward.
Right.
And obviously the Wii, from a technological standpoint, is somewhat of a backwards step in terms of what they're into, which is, of course, advanced graphics engines.
They asked him if they would ever be any point for Epic to develop on the Wii. He says, no,
Right.
we go forward, not back, and that it's about as easy as PSP for us.
And their games are marketing for their engines.
Right,
So,
that's-
I mean, there's definitely that kind of going on in the background. So you've got to think about that piece. But, that's what he really should have said. What he's really doing is knocking the Wii for being, a machine that hardcore gamers buy and then don't really play very much, right?
I don't know.
Which are
He
his
also,
friends.
well, he wasn't reluctant to knock the software either, or some of the favorites. He said, right, Zelda, I really didn't enjoy it. They backfitted the control scheme to it, and it was better on the GameCube.
And subtitle, and it didn't use Unreal Engine 3.
Mario, I wish there had been a button instead of wiggle and all that kind of shit.
Subtitle would have been so much better on Unreal Engine 3.
Where's the cover mechanic in Mario? That was what was missing.
Yeah.
All right, we already talked about the PlayStation Home beta being. Can you? What's a home? What? What's that word in English?
Beta.
Yes, that word. Thank you very much. Let's have a little fun with you. Like, don't give me the scowl. Don't give me the British
I'm
scowl.
not giving you the scowl. I'll just tell you to
Beta.
fuck off.
Anyway, so we already talked about that, so we don't need to go back to that. We covered that. And then also, Sony has the cat's sort of come out of the bag that they, too, will be combating the live marketplace video stuff with their own version of that. Studios around Hollywood have been leaking information that was picked up by, where did I pull this story from? Andrew, do you know where I pulled this story from?
LA Times.
LA Times, thank you. That the initial version of the service will include movies and television shows, that these will be coming across off the internet. After this has been batted around quite a bit, the PR did not directly respond. However, Peter Dilley, who is their Senior Vice President of Marketing for SCEA, did put on the PlayStation blog that it's already been confirmed that we'll be offering a video service for PS3 in a way that separates the service from others you've seen or used.
Where's music?
Where is music? I asked the same question of Aaron Greenberg on the live service. I don't get why they don't have the frickin' music sorted out.
I'm just tired of my neighbors draining my bandwidth by downloading shit all day. Go buy a DVD. Get on Netflix. Stop sucking down my frame rates, bitches.
Sony will hopefully have some more capital to work with as soon as potentially August, when the Nico Citigroup is anticipating that the PlayStation 3 will start being profitable out of the box, that they'll be able to start making money on selling the hardware. This will also be accompanied, they project, by a switch to smaller chip designs. Is Sony ever really worried about making money off of their...
Yeah, they are, because they're everything except for their HDTV
loses money
division is a money losing. Like Sony coffee makers, not so much.
Yeah.
Sony microwaves not making so much
They need
bank.
a Blu-ray player in it.
The Dream Machine next to my bed that I used to wake up in the morning, not making any money.
No, you're not helping them, Garnett.
You're what?
The Dream, don't you have like clock radio, man? Everyone's clock radio. Isn't that a Dream
You
Machine?
want to help Mr. Sony out? Go buy a Bravia.
Sony Sleep
him out.
Man.
Yeah, Sony Sleep Man. The analysts were also predicting that the release of Grand Theft Auto 4 will have a tremendous impact, will have a greater impact on PS3 sales because it's still perceived as a Sony platform. Are you going to disagree?
I don't think that. I don't think people are going to think like, oh, Grand Theft Auto's out now, I must buy a PS3. I don't think that's going to happen. People who have the consoles are going to be the ones like flocking to buy it. Some people might buy a console now because
been a lot of people waiting who aren't interested in 360. I mean, when I was working like at EB, there were a lot of people who just didn't want a 360 and wanted to wait until there was something they wanted on PS3. So I think this will definitely sell a lot of people. I don't think it's you can have effect of 360 into
Are
it.
PS3 sales going to double overnight because GTA 4 is finally coming out?
I think one more big thing for a lot of fence sitters is a big deal.
If I have a 360, though, why would this convince me to buy a PS3?
But we're talking about people who don't have either and aren't interested in the 360.
Yeah, it's people who are still hanging on to their PS2.
Those people obviously haven't had the information communicated to them as well that the downloadable content's only going to be on 360.
But they don't want a 360. Like it doesn't interest them.
They don't want the downloadable content.
I'd almost agree with Nick, except I don't agree with him so much that there's that much anti-360 bias. I think that this will drive a tremendous number of consoles because I think that a lot of people will have not cared enough about anything. If they didn't care enough about Halo, they might be a different sort of player. If they didn't care enough about Gran Turismo 5, even in Prologue, they might be a different player. I think this will sell a lot of consoles.
Really?
And yeah, I think a lot of people will.
Like Metal Gear.
If you're a console gamer or whatever, but you don't have a 360 and you have a PS3, but you've been thinking about getting a 360, and you walk into an EB and you say like, so what's the difference? There's not really much difference between the two versions, but the salesman says, oh well, the 360 version, you'll be able to download additional episodes.
Yeah, but they also say this one's a Blu-ray player, this one isn't.
I know.
Right? I mean,
a lot of it comes down to like what their sales motivations are, because there's always premiums and incentives. But if you get a completely unbiased opinion and somebody tells you, well, if you get it for this, it'll be slightly better graphics, but if you get it for this, you'll get additional stuff coming down the road.
That's already too much for casual. Like we talked about earlier, the average person is going to make the difference in these PS3 sales isn't really a gamer. They don't care about that little content.
Right, but you're also talking about people.
A gamer, why are they buying?
Wait a minute.
Auto 4?
You're also talking about
Grand Theft Auto.
You're also talking about people who want Grand Theft Auto. So if they find out that they can get more Grand Theft Auto in the future, why wouldn't that also be a compelling purchase?
Right, well, hang on though. But Grand Theft Auto is set in the real world, right? So it's more accessible than something like Halo to a wider audience.
I've never been to Liberty City.
I would suggest, right? But I also think that it's the first multi-platform game of that size and scale. This is the first one. This is it. This is almost like the real start of the next gen, hardcore of the gaming cycle in a way, because it's a multi-platform title that really announces across two systems, this is the future. This is where we are. We're here now.
If it weren't available on 360 at the day and date as the PS3, then I would buy into your argument.
I think it's more Metal Gear Solid 4 is the one.
Yeah,
because that's the one that for me. I don't own a PS3.
It's not multi-platform though.
No, that's what I'm saying. For me, that's the one that's going to make me.
But you're a gamer. Everyone knows what Grand Theft Auto is. Not everyone knows what Metal Gear is. There are a ton of people who aren't really gamers but still wander into game shops and have a passing interest who are inherently interested in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Well, so you say and you know who else is interested in it? Our government, like the dear Senator Leland Yee, who he's the representative for San Francisco, San Mateo, who's been driving us crazy around California with his laws to attempt to prohibit game sales to minors, because he acts like, I don't know, the government should be completely in charge of everything, and parents are idiots.
We got to get this guy on one up yours.
He reminds,
Yeah.
in a press release issued out from their office out of Sacramento, he says, it's imperative that parents avoid purchasing this game for their children, and as always, review the video games their children are playing. Really?
No shit, Sherlock.
That's a real brilliant statement. But then he goes on to launch into the hyperbole where he's like, unfortunately, the makers of Grand Theft Auto have a history of deceiving the ratings board and the public on the true content of their games. Parents beware, this game undoubtedly glorifies violence, is extremely realistic, and is designed for adults only.
As the M rating would show.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, he is right there.
He's
right?
absolutely right. But
That's like stating the obvious.
Exactly. And he discounts the fact that you can turn on the television and see his stuff all the time. It drives me absolutely batshit crazy when he goes off the deep end about this stuff. Somehow the game is, and he goes on to talk about the hot coffee mod and describe that as a graphic depiction of sex. Anybody who saw
he's just kind of a
hot
Jack
coffee
Thompson with a political career.
Exactly.
I mean, this is just his bugaboo.
Well, it's also his assistant calling together all these little tidbits for him to mouth off on. That what is he, if he's talking about hot coffee, then he obviously doesn't realize that it was a third party mod. Or not a third party mod, but hackers went in,
right?
Checked out the code, extracted it.
This whole thing is about parenting.
Yeah.
It is.
That's the bottom line to me.
I absolutely agree.
If your kid is playing this and you're offended by it, you should be offended by yourself because you were too stupid and brought this game into the house.
Word.
My vote is for Jeff
said.
Well, you might be bringing an
Jeff Green
even
for Senate.
you
I
might,
approve this message.
you might be bringing a sillier game into your house this fall, because as much as I've tried to be a champion of Guitar Hero, if the rumors that came out from IGN about the direction Guitar Hero 4 is going, I'm going to find it increasingly difficult to defend them. Evidently, they're going to have multiple instruments included in Guitar Hero 4, but the latest rumor I also heard is that those multiple instruments are sort of
Zither?
shoehorned onto the existing guitar. So you might have a microphone on the guitar somewhere that you're pulling
Are you
up.
gonna be one of those guys that plays guitar and
singing.
stomps and bangs and
I know,
plays
it's
A one-man band.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That should be the new
One-man
series.
band
One-man band. Hero.
As if that wasn't silly enough, the MTV multiplayer blog, as always, just because Patrick's there and he loves Uwe, has gotten some more information. Actually, they kind of funneled this through the MTV Movies blog. A couple of funny stories about Uwe Boll's video game movie exploits. The first one has to do with whether or not he was going to make a Metal Gear Solid movie. This is a great story. This is an absurd story, Boll told MTV News. 2 French guys wrote a script and said they were from Konami, and that Konami had hired them to write the script and said, do you want to direct it? I read the script. I like the script. So I said, yeah, I can do it. Because
He reads scripts?
Who doesn't expect 2 French guys...
He can read.
Who doesn't expect 2 French guys to be representatives of Konami that would be going to Uwe Boll to get him to direct the...
That's who I would hire.
Don't show me any ID or something. Hey, you're from Konami? Sure. You read your script.
naturally.
We are from Konami.
If I was
Would you like to
Kojima,
direct this?
who would I choose to write my Metal Gear Solid script? The French.
They have a fine film history, the French. So that's
The only thing the French are good for are breaking gaming embargoes. That's all I know.
My wife's French.
Huh?
My wife's French.
Fuck your wife.
Hey!
Well, you do actually.
Hey! No, wait.
No, I'm
Let's
kidding.
move
I
along.
love you, Mrs. Green.
Well, and
But not in that way.
Uwe's never to be daunted. He did actually evidently also...
after school, buddy.
He did also approach the fine folks over at Blizzard to see if they'd be interested in doing a World of Warcraft movie because, we already took care of Dungeon...
they're all about quality. I can't see them turning down you.
Apparently, he wasn't aware that they announced there was a movie last year at BlizzCon. Having nothing to do with him.
So the quote he gave MTV was, he's like, I got in contact with Paul Sams of Blizzard, and he said, we will not sell the movie rights to you, not to you, especially not to you, because it's such a big online game success. Maybe a bad movie would destroy that ongoing income.
Ongoing income.
Uwe Boll's World of Warcraft movie single-handedly undercuts all of...
Starring Ben Kingsley as everybody.
undercuts all of the World of Warcraft empire.
Everybody.
And finally, last but not least, Andrew was rejoicing because Brett Favre is absolutely going out in glory on the cover of next edition of Madden Football, the NFL. So I guess there won't be any curse this year, I don't suppose. But Andrew, no curse?
Reverse curse on Aaron Rodgers, better than Favre.
Reverse, there you go. So you heard it right there. Reverse curse, Aaron Rodgers, the new quarterback of the Packers, better than Favre. Wait, that's blasphemy. You can't say that. All right. Anyway, so guys, that's it. We appreciate you sticking in there with us for Milky and Andrew and.
Wait, we didn't get a chance to compare gaming to movies.
Did you want to compare gaming to movies?
No, not really.
Oh, my God. Simon, you said... Why do you have to interrupt like that?
Sorry.
That's Simon Cox, Mr. Master Interrupter, and Jeff Green and Nick. Thanks very much for joining us. This is Garnet telling you, weekend confirmed. We'll talk to you next week.